The Baltimore Orioles got 8 innings of 1-run ball from their starter. It didn't mean a darn thing because the Kansas City Royals still won anyway. Let's talk about it.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
The boys in blue did it again, this time in the biggest part of the year. Jordan Foote, Joel Penfield, Josh Keiser, the latter two joining from the Davenport in KCK, fresh off an insane watch party. Awesome stuff. Guys, you were in the weeds. You were reacting to every single play, every single pitch, giving good analysis. Just initial thoughts. How are the vibes? I know that you had a heart rate track on Josh at some point. Is that correct? How's that?
Josh was checking his heart rate throughout the thing. But no, thank you guys so much for either watching on YouTube or anyone that showed up here to the Davenport. Shout out to Mike Howard. This place doesn't usually open on Tuesdays, but they decided to do it for us and to have this watch party so that we could be out here and experience game one of the wild card round here at the Davenport, which has been absolutely awesome. Be sure to check this place out in Strawberry Hill. It's been a very, very cool environment. It's a super awesome place. And we can't thank them enough. But no, it was absolutely incredible. And to be able to do that sort of live reaction show, it's something that I've wanted to do since we started this show at KCSN. And I know Josh is the exact same way. To be able to live it out and do it was everything that I could have thought it possibly could be. So it was absolutely incredible. Josh, how are you doing, buddy?
Struggling. The heart rate was bumping a little bit in that 1-0 game, which I haven't looked at it, but I cannot think of one single 1-0 game the Royals won this year, and they somehow did it in the most important time possible. They beat Corbin Burns, who was an absolute menace in this game. Cole Ragans, also very, very good. It's just, this is what you do it for. This is, like Joel said, this is a dream come true for us when we started doing Royals content. This is the vibes. This is the dream that we had doing it, covering a postseason game and then getting the dub at a very close game. That's what it's all about for us. So we appreciate everybody who was along for the ride. Mike Howard at the Davenport was huge, great host. There's a great vibes out here, and we just had a ball out here. Jordan, how are you feeling, dude? We really missed you out here.
I'm doing solid. I figured that I'd do my part, and whether it was superstition or cautious optimism or whatever, and stay at home. And I didn't have a beer bat. I had my, 40-ounce water jug that I've been refilling throughout the day, so I could do this show with you guys. But man, the number one thing that jumped out to me was right at the end of the broadcast. It said 14 of 16 teams in this format that have won game one have gone on to win the series, and I had no clue that it was that much. I knew that winning game one was critical, especially for a Royals team that some of the guys haven't had that insane level of experience, but this was a statement win. And I mean, we talked ad nauseum about how difficult to face this Baltimore lineup was, and they didn't really do anything all game. There were a couple precarious positions. Cole Ragans got into a little bit of a jam. We can kind of peel back his start, but holding them to nothing and the leverage situations they were in, this is the biggest clutch up moment that the team has faced all year by default because they're in the postseason environment, and they passed the test. And I mean, just winning game one was absolutely monumental.
You can't start talking about game one without talking about what Cole Ragans did. And he matched Burns blow for blow pretty much the entire game. And he went out with a calf cramp, but 80 pitches in 6 innings, super efficient, which is something he hasn't necessarily done all year. He kind of chases strikeouts sometimes. It elevates the pitch count. He was able to keep it down today while still getting the strikeouts with, I believe, 7 today, multiple in really big, 8 strikeouts, all in really big spots in this game. Absolutely had some of these guys in knots. Ooh. And when he wasn't striking guys out, he was getting a ton of weak contact. The only really hard hit ball against him was Cedric Mullins' double in the 2nd or 3rd inning. Other than that, he was able to keep guys off the barrel. He didn't walk anybody. The command was really good today, which was an incredible sight to see for him. Sometimes they can just get away from him mid-start. We didn't see that today. And for 6 innings, he gave the Royals absolutely everything that they needed, and he was able to get out of here. And the Royals were able to get a run, and then he shut down the 6th inning to go along with it, and then turn it over to the bullpen, who did a great job as well.
Yeah, the Orioles only had 2 runners get 2 seconds, and only one of them got to 3rd. So there was obviously times where things got a little tight, and the high pressure was there. The moment was there, and the boys answered it. And that was kind of the one thing that I was kind of worried about. They had a lot of veterans on this team, obviously, but
a lot of guys that have been there, done that, because of the
100%.
101 win team last year that made the playoffs.
Yeah, and it shows is the young guys. It was Cole Ragans, it was Bobby Witt Jr. Those guys are the ones that you're riding anyways, but to see them step up in the moment and make good. Michael Garcia couldn't say much about him or enough about him, but going back to Cole Ragans, you mentioned the command was good. The Orioles hitters could not time him at all. They did not get anything outside the Cedric Mullins hit. Nothing was solid. Everything was very soft and, seeing eyes and bloop singles and whatnot. It was a huge, huge day for Cole Ragans, and to see him step up and match Corbin Burns was absolutely massive. We're talking about one of the best pitchers in the major leagues in Corbin Burns. Cole Ragans stepped up to the moment in the moment and did the thing, and it was awesome to see.
Yeah, no, he was great. And really the third, fourth, and fifth innings jumped out to me. He got the McCann strikeout. He got Gunnar on the very next one, grounding out, and then Westberg, the deep fly out to Melendez. And we can talk about Melendez on defense maybe a little bit later on, but
just positive vibes. Only good vibes. No, we don't need to talk about that.
Absolutely. We'll sweep that under the rug. The fourth inning, striking out Santander to begin that inning, getting Mountcastle in the flyout. And then in the fifth, after the misplayed ball, the Mullins single that didn't score the runner, they held him at third, getting McCann to strike out and Gunnar. And you could tell he was fired up. He was ready for it.
Fired up. And he doesn't show a ton of that emotion, which I think is one of the biggest things for him. And he kind of let it eat a little bit, and he let the fastball go, because a lot of times this year the fastball's been 93, 94, 95, which has concerned some people that his velo is down. But I think a lot of it was conserving for moments like this. And you could tell the adrenaline was up in the first inning. He was 97, 98, which we haven't seen a ton of. But then when they needed it later in the game, in that fifth, sixth inning, he found that 96, 97 again to blow it by hitters and at least have them think about that higher velo fastball to then pair with the changeup and the slider, which he had working pretty much all day. So just an absolute masterclass from him. You hope that the cramps are just that and nothing more, like I talked about a few weeks ago. Get him some banana bread and a Gatorade and get him ready for possibly a wild card series. The Royals will put themselves in a great position to have that once again. So, I mean, just absolutely incredible. And we talked about Michael Garcia briefly. I want to go to him. And David Lesky brought this up earlier today on Twitter that early in this past winter, Michael Garcia played in some really, championship level games in the Venezuelan Winter League. And he rose to those occasions, a walk-off home run, some really big hits in those spots. Said if there's somebody that can maybe be an X factor after playing in some big games at a different level, obviously, but just still championship level baseball, maybe Michael couldn't tap into some of that. It seems like he did today. He took a walk in a really big spot to start an inning for the Royals out of the 9 spot, where he hasn't played a ton recently. And Massey moves him over, or he steals the bag off of James McCann in a really big spot with nobody out, runner on second. Massey moves him over. Bobby drives him in. He manufactured that run. That was huge. And then he gets another hit later in the game. I know he didn't score, but again, another spot where he comes up with a hit out of the 9 spot to be able to kind of move that line, get it back to the top of the order. He could, along with the defense that he plays at third base, he's someone sneaky to watch for as the playoffs go forward. I'm not going to try and blow it too far out of proportion, but someone that can be an X factor for this team as we talk about what Vinny and Bobby and Salvi can do. Obviously, we know that they can produce, but for Michael to be able to do it at the bottom of the lineup is a huge factor in the Royals going into game 2 and possibly moving forward.
And we can't understate how big the stolen bases were.
Huge.
There were times where he was in Corbin Burns' head when he was trying to face Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny Pasquantino and then Salvi Perez at the end of the game. Those stolen bases were absolutely huge, and they should not be going unmentioned at this point. But yeah, Michael Garcia on the offensive side, probably my MVP, even though Bobby was the one who scored the run. I think Michael Garcia is the MVP on offense outside of Cole Ragans and Lucas Erceg. So if we're doing the 3 stars like in hockey, I think Michael Garcia is getting at least 1 star, if not 2. But it was huge to see him, because we even coming in this game, we were wondering if he should even be in the lineup. There was even some people were out there throwing that he shouldn't even be on the wild card series roster, which is something. But to see him not only overtake, be that guy in big spots against a great pitcher in Corbin Burns, take him in a great at bat in the, what was it, the 7th that he got that walk. It was huge to see. So there was a lot of doubters coming in here, myself included. I didn't know if he was the right choice between him and DeYoung. It was nice to see him have a good day.
He had a 27 WRC plus in the month of September. And he responded by being the Royals' best player on Tuesday afternoon. And I get Bobby Witt Jr. is the one that brought him in. He did the Bobby Witt Jr. thing with the classic vintage, signature moment. Michael Garcia was the Royals' best player in that game. The walk after working the great at bat, stealing second, Michael Massey grounding out, advancing him to third, sets up obviously the RBI. The single right off the bat that pulled Corbin Burns, you get a different look at a different pitcher. Ended up seeing a couple different ones with Aiken and Dominguez, I believe, that came in after him.
Yep.
The delayed steal of second was one of those. No. Okay, when he gets in there, barely. Everything was going right for him pretty much, and he needed it. I think more than pretty much anybody on the team. And I'm with Joel. Like, we've raved about his just baseball makeup and just what he comes from through probably the past year plus, and thinking this guy can put it together and be a productive big league player. And I think that's still the case, whether, moving forward next year, he's a long-term third baseman or he's a backup utility guy. He's going to stick around, I think, for a long time, just because he's built for moments like that. And played well, sound base running. Hats off to Michael Garcia. So I know that Postgame and stuff like that's coming up later, but I'm going to spoil and say that I'm definitely tipping a cap or two to him. So.
And 24 years old,
awesome.
right?
24, 25 years old.
That's
I feel old.
Still super young to step up to that moment and answer the call is awesome to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do want to hit a break, but I also want to touch on the couple of bullpen, or I guess 3 bullpen guys that came in. We could have probably predicted the last 2, and we did on the last show because that's the universal pick for 8-9. But Sam Long getting the nod after Cole Ragans got pulled with the calf cramp, the leg cramp, 10-pitch inning, very quiet, very easy. Bubic got into, a tiny bit of trouble with the walk, still generally okay. He did throw 20 pitches, though, in 2/3, and then Lucas Erceg doing what he does. Not perfect, again, but when you're on the biggest stage and you can work around stuff like that, it's a testament to your baseball makeup. It's a testament to being ready for this moment and not being a fluke. The Royals could lose the next 2 games of the series. Nobody would think they were just like a gimmicky team that won 85 and got into the playoffs. Like, they clearly deserve to be here. And guys, whichever one stood out most to you, I think that the bullpen did a damn good job, especially considering
also a damn job.
Ragans came out. Yes,
they
did a damn job
held it back.
too.
Yeah, they did a damn job as well.
No, Lucas Erceg coming and getting 4 outs in his first appearance in the playoffs. That takes some stones. And to do it with coming in a very precarious situation in the 8th inning where you feel like that's kind of where the game hinged for a little bit. And to get a 2-out pop or 2-pitch pop-up to get out of the inning, massive. And then to throw that changeup in that spot to Heston Kjerstad. Again, that takes some stones to be able to feel confident enough in that pitch in that spot to throw it that way. Absolutely huge. He's everything that the Royals have needed and wanted out of their bullpen, to have a guy that can run out there and just lock down a game. It's what they didn't have for most of the season. And it's why I felt confident in the bullpen coming into this. And I know that that's a weird thing to say given what we've seen over the larger sample throughout the season. But we've seen in October, if you can get it to a guy in the 9th inning that can win a ball game, you can get there. And this is not, I'm not trying to speak too far into but like the Texas Rangers, they didn't have that last year. They didn't have anybody that they could go to in the 9th. They just had to kind of piecemeal it together. The Royals at least have a direction, and they have a path to a win. It's scratch a couple of runs. Starting pitching is going to keep us in the ball game, and then get to Bubic and Erceg in the 8th and 9th, and we got a chance to win a ball game. That's exactly what we saw today. Cole Ragans did his thing. Bobby Witt Jr. gets the biggest hit of the game in his first playoff game. Long does his job. Bubic does his job. It was a little rocky, but we can get it to Erceg for 4, and that's exactly what happened. So there is a path, there is a formula, and they have it figured out right now.
I had a hand-up moment. Hand up. That changeup that he threw, that last pitch. The previous batter, I was like, that's not getting swung at. And
That's exactly what happened.
Turns out that is, in fact, getting swung at. So it was a nasty, nasty pitch along with his 99-mile-an-hour cheddar, which is obviously very, very fun. But, yeah, the Sam Long part of it in the 7th also was very intriguing to me because Baltimore, in the aggregate, we talked about a little bit in the pre-show, that in the aggregate, Baltimore seems like they can hit left-handed pitching pretty well. But when you start to look at especially what they've done recently down the stretch, they have struggled a little bit against left-handed pitching. So to go all lefties today until you get to Urseg was huge. I love the fact that they were looking at that. They spotted it. They picked their matchups as Q has done all year, and it's just been a huge, huge managerial matchup win for Q in that situation. And to see Sam Long step up to that, who was a minor league invite to summer or for spring training, to see him come up in wildcard game 1 and do what he did was huge. And see Chris Bubich coming off an injury, Tommy John surgery, battling back and
First
becoming
playoff game for him.
Yeah, not only like becoming valuable and producing, adding value to this team, but doing so in a huge high leverage situation like he did, even if he didn't get out of his inning and just handed it off to Urseg to get out of. It was still contributing to the baseball team. This 2018 draft class is actually producing some production, which is good to see.
Well, and speaking of the 2018 class, you still have Daniel Lynch and you still have Angel Zerpa tomorrow. So if you need to bridge it with some more lefties after Seth Lugo, you still have 2 more that you can go to because they put 4 lefties on their spot.
100%.
Yep. Jeff Passan tweeting that he talked to Cole Ragans and said he cramped up with a couple batters left in the final inning. Could have went back out if he had to, but wants to keep pitching throughout October. He'll be ready to go if the Royals get to the ALDS. So nothing to worry about there. It's kind of a precautionary thing and a bang-up job by the entire Royals staff, including players, in a 1-0 game. Those are hard to win. The margin for error is very low, and they got it done. So hats off to them. Hats off to everyone tuning in live. Hashtag live show on YouTube after the game. So there's no curse here. Like and subscribe if you'd be so inclined. And the guys live from the Davenport. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to talk some more playoff wins for the Royals.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com. Whenever I discover something new, the first thing I want to do is share it with my friends. Whether it's a new binge-worthy show or a song that I can't stop listening to, the best part is sharing it with others. And that's kind of what it feels like when I discovered that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless service for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. It's such an awesome deal, there's no way I could keep it to myself. Because friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. So you can say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your friends with premium wireless service for just $15 a month. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan, bring your own phone number, and all of your existing contacts. So ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSN1RW. That's mintmobile.com/KCSN1RW. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSN1RW. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Huge thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile. If you are interested in joining in the conversation, whether it's live chat or after, you can do so on the Mint Mobile hotline, 913-407-6524. Again, 913-407-6524. Questions about Royals playoffs, questions about Chiefs, questions about the mysterious Rashee Rice injury that we're still working through, soccer, you name it, everything is there. Again, 913-407-6524. Fellas, let's talk about the Royals lineup now. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give at least partial tip of the cap to Corbin Burns, who was awesome.
He was
8 innings,
awesome.
5 hits,
he was so
1
good.
earned. Only 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. Like, it was really pitching to the type of contact he knew he could get.
Yep.
And the Royals just didn't have answers for him, really, aside from that 1 single. Really, a couple of hits. Perez had 1 through the gap on that left side as well.
Massey led off the game with 1. Yeah, there wasn't a lot. And when he did leave pitches over the plate, like, it was close. Like, Vinny just missed 1. Who else? There was Salvi
Salvi.
missed one,
What
hit
was the
one to the
double
warning
play?
track.
The
There was the
double
double
play
play that
off
I think
Gurriel.
Melendez got close on one.
Melendez
Maybe.
just missed one. Yeah. So like it was just off, but that's why the cutter, sweeper, slider combo that he throws is so deadly because nothing is straight. So you have to really square it up and you have to be really on your game. And Bobby squared up the one that mattered. But there were a couple that were really close and the score could have been a little bit different. But I don't, I'm not going to talk about it too much. I don't want to kind of Monday morning quarterback it because the Royals won the game. So it's not like we're going back in a reverse situation where it's like, damn, if they just had this one hit, they got the hit that mattered. And now we're moving on with a chance to move on tomorrow with Seth Lugo on the mound.
I'm very excited for the Lugo start. We talked about it when we were talking about the clinching game on Friday night and how the rosters kind of line up, and Seth Lugo could come up in the situation where they're up 1-0, ready to take the series in Baltimore, and there's nobody else we'd rather have than Seth Lugo in that situation. That's exactly what he's been. He's been a pillar all this whole season. Another Cy Young candidate on this Royals rotation. That is a reality that we live in. That's a real thing. That the Royals have multiple Cy Young candidates in their rotation.
Crazy.
It is pretty wild that we're sitting here right now up 1-0 in Baltimore with Lugo going to the mound to win the series, to go to New York and have the right to go stick it to those Yankees in New York, at least to start off. So we are here in this reality that we live in, and it is real.
Yeah.
Let's jump into, let's peel back the lineup a little bit more, but I think also part of those keys to winning games 2 and possibly 3 tie to what we saw on Tuesday. Like Tommy Pham had a pretty rough strikeout. There were a couple, like Pasquantino had some really, really big rips that ended up in a strikeout.
Yep.
Perez had the deep fly out. Melendez had the deep fly out. Like the Royals were, you could tell they were getting close on some, and sometimes baseball just doesn't break that way when it's a filthy ass pitcher on the mound. But I think moving forward, executing with runners in scoring position, they just didn't have many opportunities there. I think 1 for 3 on Tuesday, taking more patient or more mature at bats for sure. 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, nothing too crazy, but lots of quick ABs where they're trying to get something done right off the bat, or just really lackadaisical swings at stuff, I think. And you even saw it in Salvador Perez, and I think it was the top of the knife.
Brutal.
That's exactly what you expect from
sweeper
him.
in the other's batter's box.
Joel hit it on the head when he said you kind of knew that was coming because it's Salvador Perez.
Everybody
Pham had an ugly one. Pasquantino was still getting his timing going a little bit. So lineup wise,
and then he got some good swings off too. Like he got by
and
Burns on a curveball. Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
His thumb didn't fall off. But he didn't look like his timing was off, which is kind of what I was looking for. He got some pull side fly balls, which is usually a good indicator that you're on time. You're just the quality of contact's a little bit different. So if he can just rein it in a little bit as he gets a little more comfortable, get some more BP sessions under his belt headed into tomorrow, I still feel good about what Vinny's going to be able to provide for this lineup, which it lengthens it so much. And that was something that we talked about off the top, that you look at the lineup and you're like, oh, Vinny makes a massive difference when it comes to just when you look at 1 through 9, just guys that can get on and do damage. I mean, we saw it for most of the year. If Bobby or the leadoff, whoever the leadoff hitter was at the time, if they get on, you feel pretty good about Vinny coming up to be able to either situationally move a guy or hit a fly ball to be able to get the runner in. And I think he still provides that, even if it's a little bit different just because he hasn't played it much in a month with a broken thumb.
Yep. And the other part about it is maybe it's more game script because Corbin Burns was just in the whole game, but there was not a single hit on the Royals side, which I thought was interesting. That's kind of, they carried 15 batters for that very situation.
Yeah.
But you got enough guys there that see Corbin Burns multiple times, and I don't really mind not really pinch hitting. And there weren't a lot of spots.
They didn't have to use those live bullets. I think they kind of knew what they had on the pitching side.
And I think we talked about on the broadcast, like if there were ever an opportunity to do it, it might be that time where Michael Garcia could have been pinch hit for Paul DeYoung in a situation.
But then he gets a hit anyways,
right?
And
it all ended up working out. So again, Q very smart, Josh not very. This is the old adage, as a lot of people say. But it was interesting that they didn't have to play matchups at all with those hitters.
And 2 things on Pasquantino. The first one, given the walk also that he had, that was about as good as you could expect him to look without him getting a hit. Like 100%. He genuinely looked like he hadn't missed much time, had his rhythm for the most part. Like I think just the presence of him, and we've talked about the mental aspect, really the optics of the lineup too. Like if you enter the postseason already with a lineup of, let's say, Massey, Witt, maybe you sub in Freddie Fermin, Salvador Perez, Gurriel, Melendez, Pham, Isbel, Garcia. I and a lot of people look at that and are like, man, that's a pretty scary lineup, and not in a good way. You add Pasquantino back in, you're like, okay, you have the tree there, the holy trinity of Witt, Pasquantino, Perez. Then you're like, okay, you can't pitch around those guys because all can do damage, all of them can work a decent at bat, and all of them bring a bunch of power to the plate. So.
And they all had a shot. They all came around at the time you would want them, with a guy in runner in scoring position, with Bobby, Vinny, and then Salvi. And they didn't produce this time, but that was exactly why you have those guys at the 2, 3, 4 spots.
And the fact that Vinny can come back for a playoff series, for your first playoff series in 9 years, to come back 2 weeks earlier than we even could have possibly anticipated him coming back. You got to wonder what that does to the psyche of the clubhouse going forward. With how much of an emotional leader Vinny is, to get him back in the lineup for your biggest time of your organization in almost a decade. That's massive. Like that for just the mental side, and obviously the physical side, we know what Vinny can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's talk about the pitching matchup tomorrow, because we've hit on the lineup. We know what they need to do. They just need to do what they're the same list they go into every game with, pretty much, and just execute at a higher level with that. The bullpen replicating its performance would be awesome. The stat about winning game 1 is huge, but Eflin and Lugo, that is one heck of a pitching matchup right after you had Ragans and Burns. Absolutely nuts to have that. 3.59 ERA on the season, less than 1.5 walks per 9, 1.4 ERA in August and September. We know what Seth Lugo can do, but the guy on the other side, fellas, is a pretty darn good pitcher in his own right.
Yeah, Zach Eflin has been very, very good this year. 2.6 ERA, 3.94 FIP. He's going to get a lot of ground balls. He's going to throw a lot of strikes. He's not going to walk, which might be actually conducive to the Royals, because he's not going to throw a lot of stuff out of the strike zone to chase. It's going to allow the Royals to make a lot of contact. Now, you still got to drive the pitch count up and work good at bats. You can't just flail it at the first pitch. But if he throws you a first pitch fastball, go get it. And we'll see what happens, but I feel really good on the other side too. You got Seth Lugo going, who has been fantastic for the Royals down the stretch of the season. When they've needed him most, he has provided some very, very good starts. I am just going to run with, he's going to do the exact same thing. And now it's just comes down to, can they get the big hit once again in a big spot? Can you move runners in situations and scratch a couple across early to make Baltimore think and maybe panic and go to that bullpen that has not been very good early? And if you have to go to the bullpen, if they have to go to their bullpen in the 5th or 6th inning because the Royals scratch a couple across, you give yourself a really good chance, because Lugo's going to get into the 6th or 7th inning, and it shortens the game for them as well.
Yeah, and then Zach Eflin coming in, he's got the great cutter, which we also see from Corbin Burns. So seeing that Burns cutter to set up the Eflin cutter, I wonder if that's going to be helpful in any way. But yeah, Zach Eflin is very, very good, has playoff experience in his resume, can get got, especially against lefties. So we need to keep an eye on Vinny. We need to keep an eye on Pasquantino. I think Massey could also be very big tomorrow. So we need to keep an eye on those left-handed hitters especially. But Zach Eflin can get got, but he's also someone to be respected. So great matchup again. I don't know if it's going to be as good as this, but still, we need to get some runs across, especially early, and get into that bullpen.
The repertoire breakdown for Eflin: 28% cutter, 28% sinker, 19% curveball, 9% with the sweeper, 9% four seam, and 6% with the changeup. The cutter, far and away the best pitch, 14 run value. The curveball's been getting teed off on this year, -8 run value. Everything else hovers around 1 or 2. So he's going to give you that cutter, and you're just going to have to hope you know what to do with it. Kind of like Corbin Burns going back to back, like you said, Josh. It's much easier said than done. And Seth Lugo, though, with the billion pitches he has against a lineup with a bunch of young / guys that want to make an early impact in the at-bat. And we talked about the walks with Baltimore as a talking point as well. Lugo can kind of, I don't want to say completely negate that, but kind of keep it a little bit shorter. I think they're in a good position, 1-2, even if it goes to game 3 with Michael Wacha. Feeling pretty optimistic about their chances. And again, winning game 1, absolutely monumental. So that's kind of my final thought on the game and heading into game 2.
Do we want to have any sort of prediction for what we think is going to happen tomorrow? Do we want to put ourselves out there and knock
Josh
that
said
out?
no bad vibes. I'm not speaking
No
on
bad
what
vibes.
I think is going to happen in game 2.
Fair enough. I was just wondering.
Let's do a quick toast game and get the heck out of here. How about that?
Mhm.
I'm going to toast
I'll
him.
take. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm
Ooh.
gonna toast again to Michael Garcia, who had an
Stolen.
awesome game. The
Ditto.
single, I know, sorry, but you still got a couple layups that you could go for.
Oh, 100%.
But no, the single and the stolen base, manufacturing a run to get this team the run that they needed to win this ball game, absolutely massive. To come out of the 9 spot and to do it, absolutely huge. I mentioned it earlier, he could be an X factor for this team, given how he has handled big time playoff championship type baseball in the past, even if it's not MLB. Still, that type of experience matters, I think. And I'm excited for what Michael can do possibly tomorrow and moving forward.
Jordan, you want to take the easy one?
My easy one was Michael Garcia. So I'll just echo that and then send it back to you and I'll bring us out of here. How about that?
I thought the easy one was Cole Ragans. I mean, he was the
Absolutely.
absolute ace of this staff and coming into the year, coming into this game, and he absolutely stepped up to the moment and shoved. So shout out to Cole Ragans. He's my toast game. I think it's an easy one for me. So shout out.
Cool deal. Well, big water jug toast game from me to everyone who came out to the Davenport, to you guys for holding it down on the live stream, to everyone who tuned in on YouTube, had an insane numbers-wise audience, and the quality of the comments. Really love that. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel for more updates and live videos and content. Leave a review on Apple, Spotify, subscribe to those channels, and we'll be back for a post-game reaction on Wednesday after Game 2, and we'll see if the Royals can keep that magic going. But until then, take care, stay safe. We'll talk next time.